Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. We're on season 6, episode number 35. We've got a special guest for the Songs edition today. Jason Steffens joins us. How you doing, Jason?
Hi, Dan. How you doing? I'm super excited about this talk. My little boy, who's 12, who was raised on classic rock,
Yeah,
told me days like, Dad, nobody knows more about classic rock than you. So I'm kind of
it's going to be
excited.
a special episode. Our songs. We're not going to be doing an album review like we typically do, but we brought Jason on. Jason's a crossover guest. You know, we've done sports episodes with him, NFL, Vikings preview, sports kinds of topics, and we try to get some crossover guests on the show. And this will be Jason's first time on the music side. He's a big classic rock fan, and today's episode will be focused on classic rock. What's your definition, Jason, of classic rock?
To me, like classic rock, I think, and everyone can have their own opinion. I'm sure there's an AI opinion. Here we go.
There it is.
It's late 60s to 1989.
Okay.
And I picked that because Nirvana and Pearl Jam and everybody killed classic rock. So I would say late 60s to 89.
And that is a good. And what I like here about this is it's got a strong emphasis on guitar-driven sound.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's one of my favorite parts of all this, and the characters that were out there and the artists. It's just the best genre of music, I believe. And it's, once again, it's anyone's opinion, whatever you think it is, but this is what AI says. Jason's been following this his whole life. I'm sure you've got plenty of stories. What's your, as a starting off point? I know I like the classic art album art, the LPs, all of this, the shows, the arena shows, the concerts, the outdoor, the indoor. I mean, that was just a magical time of music, I think.
You know, and it's kind of funny. In '89, when I got out of school, I threw away all my albums because I started to buy CDs. And what was I going to do with an album? Nobody listened to albums anymore. And last year for Father's Day, I got a record player. I asked for that. And I started buying all my own albums again. And one of the things I remember, I think you do too, remember when you go and you get that album and you see what they look like, right? And you got the lyrics on the songs and who wrote it, who played what. You know, it's art. Is this not one of the most famous pictures in the world?
Yes.
It's art.
It's so good. It's just,
you lost that
so
when
good.
the CDs.
We don't have it today. We don't have anything like it today.
Right.
It's a lost thing. Now, the other thing I like is I wanted to bounce off some ideas from you as well. As my notes say, what are some of the bands that were so, good, successful? Some of the bands what that they failed. Some crossed over and singers left and joined other bands, and they kept the same names. And some there was plane crashes and bus accidents.
Yeah.
People killed. I mean, it was a wild time of year for this whole genre. I mean, this 20-year period, it was amazing. And what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I growing up, I loved the fact that these guys lived hard, right? They partied hard. I always wanted to be that guy. Yeah. When I was 15, 16, 13, 14, I wanted to be Eddie Van Halen. I wanted to be David Lee Roth. I wanted to be Don Henley and Glenn Frey, right? And it's not the same now. And better or worse, I mean, these guys here's another thing too, classic rock. You had to look good.
Yeah.
There was no ugly lead singers, right? So it was everything. It was their appearance and how they moved and how they strutted. And, as a young male, getting the girls and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a whole lifestyle.
And there was no MTV yet.
No, not yet.
I mean, your chance to see or get the visuals of these artists and the bands was the LPs and things like that, or the magazines. Rock magazines but there was no other real outlet. You didn't know what they were like on day-to-day basis. There was no social media. You weren't able to chat with them online on sending a direct message on tweet. So it was just they were heroes. They were heroes, and folks looked up to them. So,
Right. I wanted to be them. Like I wanted to be David Lee Roth.
oh yes,
Like
yes,
I wanted to be Don Henley and date Stevie Nicks and all that stuff. That was a goal of mine. So
that
yeah.
that is exactly true. And the demographic now was the junior high, the high
Yep.
school male. There wasn't
Yep.
many females following classic rock or got into it.
Right.
It was a male. It was strictly a male adolescent thing
Yep.
that was captured.
And
Powerful.
very high testosterone.
Yes.
The male thing. Yeah.
So it was a lot of songs about fast cars, women, and
Drinking,
drink.
partying.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
alcohol. It was wine, women, and song. I mean, that was
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It was
Exactly.
wild stuff. So now you listened to it. You had your LPs, you had your albums. You got older. You pitched them all. You converted over to CD. Now you're back going. Are
Yeah.
there favorites? Are there favorites?
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
list, for
I
instance.
want to talk about a little bit, to me, these are one of the guys that started classic rock, right? Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Then eventually Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. These guys were a super group from 3 different groups. Nash is from the Hollies. Stills was from, Buffalo Springfield. He was from the Byrds. So, they kind of came together and created the super group. I mean, what's wild about this album, you're talking 53 years old, 54 years old, still sounds fresh.
Yes.
Right? The production, the songwriting, you still hear it on KQ92. You still hear it on the radio. 55-year-old song that still sounds fresh. What from today, Dan, is going to be played 55 years from now?
I couldn't even imagine and having it sound fresh.
Right.
That brings up a good point, because on my off time when I'm driving in the car or whatever, I'm listening to classic rock all the time. And one thing that stands out is how fresh it is, and how also I'm noticing something new on each track all the time.
Right.
The bass line, the guitar, the vocals, the drum tracks, some of the stuff you listen to and over and over and over, and you still seem to pick out something new, I think.
Yeah. And, it's somewhat poignant, because these CSN guys, they're 80 years old. Right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think Nash is 82. These are grandfathers now. So what makes it poignant, because these guys are not going to be around much longer. Right. So Crosby died 2 years ago. Right. Stills and Nash are 82 years old. These guys are not going to be around. 10 years from now, I think every classic rock artist will be dead.
Yeah, and they're on the circuit. They don't play the big shows anymore, but cover this on other shows. It's the casinos, it's the small intimate arenas, and sometimes you can get a chance to see them, albeit they're 80 years old. But get that chance to see them when they come around. It's probably going to be the last time you're going to be able to see these folks live, and powerful stuff.
Air Supply isn't. I still think it's classic rock. They're softer. I just went to see Air Supply at Mystic Lake Casino 3 months ago with my wife. I will say this: it was the greatest concert I've ever been to.
Okay, really?
They looked 140 years old. They sounded incredible. Their voices were the same. They had top flight musicians. The dark-haired guy, I think his name is Russell. He looked 140. His voice was incredible. The blonde guy was an incredible guitarist. At the end of that concert, Dan, 200 to 300 women rushed the stage and they gave them standing ovations throughout the concert. And at the end, nobody would let them leave. They were doing they kept coming back, and they kept coming back, and they kept coming back for their encores. And literally they're like, we have to go.
Yes.
That's how incredible it was, because people realized these dudes are 80 years old. You may not see them again. Right.
Much respect. A lot of respect in this whole industry. It's just wow. Now, Jason, what I'm hoping for, it may not relate to our timing, but Canterbury is opening that park, that amphitheater park, to hold 19,000 fans. And this was what I would have hoped for. 20 years ago, they would have had something like this to see outdoor shows. And now, like I said, they're going to be aging out some of these classic rocks. They're not going to be around much longer, but a great venue. Once again, these outdoor shows, these outdoor festivals, these things. the casinos are really where it's at. They're doing the casino route, and covering all the bases at some of these smaller venues. So you get a chance to see these heroes up close.
Yeah, you know, I've been to Hollywood Bowl and I've been to Red Rocks. Outside, especially if you have a view, is something that you have to experience. So I just drove by that Canterbury one 2 days ago when I went out to the horse races. Still probably another month, I think, away from getting open, but that's going to be an incredible experience. But like I said, who are they going to have? I, that would interest me or you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have no
correct.
idea.
The options are limited, but I would like to see that. But I think it's going to be the newer acts that'll be filling up the place. The older
Yeah,
acts
exactly.
is not going to be they're obviously not going to draw 19,000 fans, but the atmosphere is
Exactly.
going to be awesome.
And I kind of had to laugh when I was at Air Supply. I remember telling my wife, look at all the old people here. My God. And she goes, Jason, that's your age.
Yes.
You are that old person.
And nothing is more true has been said what your wife just said. I go to these shows and the best thing to do is look around.
Yeah.
And it is an old folks show.
Yeah.
And you start looking at the ages and you're like, that's me. That's us.
I know. And they're done by 10 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Because older people can't stay up till midnight. It's not,
it is.
You can't do a GNR show where Axel doesn't get on till midnight. You can't do that with our group.
Yeah, it is. It's wild. The people watching is one of my favorite things to do, is just looking around at the crowd. So it's
Right.
wild stuff. So do you have a list, Jason? I'd like to see if you have a list, like a favorite list of classic rock.
Yeah.
And let's go through, because I think I could interject some things, or I'll just let you talk.
Sure. Well, it's kind of funny. When I was in college, I really got into, people are going to kind of laugh at this, but I really got into Eddie Money. Okay. I really loved him. I loved the way he wrote. It was all about girls and heartbreak and partying and having fun, getting your heart broke, falling in love. I just loved him. He really spoke to me. First album I got from Eddie Money was Where's the Party?
Okay.
And if you know, I've met Eddie Money many times. Obviously, he passed away a couple years ago. That album was when he was big into drinking and drugs.
Yeah. And
he got cleaned up after that. But that was his last album where it was really about the party. So I really, really, really I identify with that because I was a junior in college and hitting it pretty hard.
Well, we've reviewed on prior shows, his No Control album and his debut.
Yeah.
I was a big Eddie Money fan later too. Good. His stuff was just pure rock and roll. That was
Absolutely.
It wasn't heavy. It was rock and roll.
Right.
It was good stuff.
With a pop sound to it. I mean, it was constant. Can I put stop here? My vacuum's going off. Hang on.
Yes.
And then, so this was another album too. This is when he was clean.
Okay.
Can't Hold Back. And this album was huge. Made him a ton of money. And I wore that album out in college to the point where guys in my fraternity were, stop playing that.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, I was a big fan of his.
That's awesome.
Obviously, you can't go wrong with the Eagles. They started off a little country, got a little bit more into rock, obviously, Hotel California. But the stuff I really liked of the Eagles was the early stuff. And the reason for that, it was a lot of love songs, right? And to me, I don't know what you think or what your listeners think. To me, there's nothing better than a big, tough guy singing a love song, yes. Right? So I always loved that. If you go back to the early Eagles, they were very soft rock, almost country rock.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, in a way. So I have like the early Eagles stuff. Obviously, everybody has Hotel California, but I really, really like the early stuff.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin, Kiss, Heart, the love songs, the romantic stuff, the heartbreak stuff is the makeup of most of these bands back then.
Right. And who hasn't been broken up with, right?
Because everyone can relate.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't fallen in love or gotten broken up with or gotten their heart broke and stuff like that? You know, these guys can still rock, but they still had a heart, right?
Yes.
Which I thought was appealing. Here's the one of the top selling albums of all time, Steve Miller Band.
Great album cover once again.
Yeah, Greatest Hits, his first one. Man, I think this thing sold like 15 million copies. Here's another guy I saw at Mystic Lake a few years ago. He looked like he was 100, but he rocked. He rocked.
And he started, his audience was mainly college. College
Yeah.
campus was
Yep.
what his market was college.
Yep.
Perfect.
And again, you can't go wrong, right? Journey.
Big following.
You know, it's kind of funny. I think everybody kind of knows this. Journey really struggled for half a decade as kind of a prog rock band, right? And the promoter stumbles across Steve Perry, who's cleaning out chicken coops, forces Steve Perry on the band, and then they turn into, I mean, they are the prototype, the beginner of what they call corporate rock.
Okay.
Right? Where, you know, it's cool for everybody to go to, and they're going to sell a lot of merch, they're going to sell a lot of beer and all that stuff. They're going to fill up stadiums. So, right, you can't go wrong with Journey.
Correct.
Another one that I like is, you know, he's getting ripped on now for his politics. I mean, I think he sold his music for about $800 million. But I really, really liked early Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yes.
And the early stuff, right?
Really. Yeah.
Like early stuff. And here's the thing, and I know you can relate. These guys, again, same thing, Bob Seger, right? Early.
Look at the beard.
Yeah, you know, look at how thick that hair is too. That's good hair.
That's some solid
right?
salad.
But here's the thing, like with Seger and Springsteen, like when they were young and they're struggling and they're making these songs about the struggle of the common man, right? They lose themselves as they get richer. How Springsteen's a billionaire, right? He's a billionaire. What is there to sing about? I mean, guys like Seger and Springsteen and stuff, by the time they're 5-6 years into their career, they've done all the drugs, they've had all the women, they've drunk all the booze, they're worth 50, 60, 70 million. Again, Springsteen's a billionaire. What do you write about, Dan? Worth 50 million.
Yeah.
What is your struggle? Right?
It gets tough, yes.
Yeah. And that's why you look at Springsteen. I mean, he'll still sell out arenas. That dude hasn't had a big hit in 30 years. Right? Same thing with Seger. Seger's last big album, and I love Bob Seger. Seger's last big album was Like a Rock, right?
Yep.
Dude, that thing, I'm pretty sure that was 1987. You're talking 40 years ago almost. This, you know, Seger's retired. I went to his concert, sold out. But this is a dude that hasn't had a hit in 38 years, and they're still filling arenas.
Correct.
Right? But, you know, again, goes back to when Seger sold Like a Rock to Chevy, it crushed me. Right?
Yes.
It crushed me. And that was the start of people selling their songs. It actually hurt my heart when I saw that on a commercial.
Yes.
I was, no, God, no, please. And he sold out, and everything else just went downhill.
Yeah, a lot of the commercials, the music, it's and then the best thing, what I wanted to interject before we go further is, because they're aging out and these bands are dying, what we're seeing is all of these cover tribute bands come onto the scene where you can go for way cheaper. They sound exactly the same, and it's a blast. And that's why I think the tribute band scene is really taking off.
You know, and it actually segues me into my next album, Chicago. Right?
Yes.
They are one of the pioneers of rock. Dan, there's like 2 guys that are still original band members, and they call themselves Chicago. Right? You can actually see a tribute band that's based out in Chicago. A couple different Chicago tribute bands that are actually better than Chicago.
Yeah.
right?
I've heard
And
that
they're like
phrase.
50
Yes.
bucks.
Oh
There's
my.
a band, I don't know if you've seen them, called Leonid and Friends, and
No, I haven't.
they're based out of Chicago, and they tour the country doing Chicago songs. They're actually better than Chicago
Okay.
is right now, right?
Sure.
Nobody will touch Peter Cetera. But if anybody wants to go on and look up Leonid and Friends, he's a Russian guy. That is something that you can really, and you can buy tickets to these guys at Medina for $20.
Yeah.
So, can you hear that again?
No.
Okay. It's the vacuum going on. Anyway, so, but yeah, there's an example of you can go to these cover bands for $20. But here's the thing, Dan. Chicago is a cover band, right?
Yes. Good point.
Leonard Skinner is a cover band. There's nobody still alive from the original Leonard Skinner. How is that Leonard Skinner?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, how is Chicago Chicago? There's two guys, the drummer and the piano player. How is that Chicago? Could I just get a bunch of my fraternity buddies and call myself Van Halen? Right? So that's what's hard for me. You look at Styx and REO Speedwagon now, and it's not even the original lead singers, right?
Yeah,
so
they need to do an asterisk or something and just say, look, here's a disclaimer. We're calling it this, but it's really not.
Yeah,
truly a new cover band is what it is.
So yeah, why not just go to a cover band? They're a cover band anyway.
Yeah, so some good ones out there.
Here's one that really makes me feel old. Frampton Comes Alive.
Frampton, yes. Now, was that one of the very first live LPs?
Yep.
Okay.
And here's the thing with Frampton, people don't realize his first few albums bombed. He was about ready to get dropped by his label. They bombed. They did a Hail Mary and threw out this live performance, and the thing sold like 17 million albums. Right? And I read a lot about that. They just were at his concert. I think they did it over 2 concerts. Had the world's greatest sound machine. Frampton didn't even know they were recording it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Threw it out there and exploded. The sad thing about Frampton, this is what it hurts me. The dude, like, he can't even play anymore. He's got some type of, Parkinson's nerve disease. He can't even play guitar anymore. Right? So there's an example of that just hurts because you look at him and he's so young and he's so good looking and he's so pretty. He's prettier than a woman at that time. And now he's an old man that can't play guitar. That hurts.
Yes.
Right. That hurts. So here's one that just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Bad Company. Paul Rogers. Yep. And their guitar player, Mick Ralphs, just died last week, which sucks because he dies right before the Hall of Fame induction. But you still hear Bad Company on KQ92 every day.
Well, now, Jason, the album we reviewed 2 or 3 weeks ago was The Firm.
Yeah, Paul Rogers.
Rogers and Robert Plant. Are you kidding me? And I love these supergroups.
Yeah, I do too. Paul Rogers kind of wandered into the wilderness for 20, 30 years. If you remember Bad Company, he left Bad Company and Bad Company went pop in the late 80s. Okay. Got a replacement singer. And while Rogers did The Firm and, all this different stuff. But Rogers ended up coming back, mid 90s, and they've been crushing it ever since.
Some great musicians.
Yep. I'm going to do one more, and we all know about this one.
Boston. That album is so huge. How many times platinum did that thing go?
That thing's got to be 20 million. I mean, that's the greatest debut
album, yes,
of all time. Here's the songs. More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Foreplay, Long Time. That's the first side. Every one of those things gets played all day long.
Yes.
Second side, Rock and Roll Band, Smoke and Hitch a Ride, Something About You, Let Me Take You Home Tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 9 songs that get played on the radio from a debut album. Insane.
That was, and that one, no matter if you were in high school, college, the Boston album was played in the car. You still pull up to a stoplight today and someone's got their
Yep.
windows down
Yep.
and it's Austin. That album.
That
I love the business side of the classic rock. Like you said, some of these come out and struggle. They can't do anything right. They do the
yeah,
live Frampton. Boston
yeah,
comes out there,
yeah, yeah.
throws it all out there, and it's just jackpot.
And everybody knows the story of Schultz, Tom Schultz. I mean, he was a Polaroid engineer, a genius, and he played around in his basement. That entire album was recorded in his basement, and then the record company, it blew, and the record company says, we need to get you on tour. And Tom Schultz is like, I don't have any band members. Like, he recorded it in his basement,
Yes.
played all the instruments, and had, the lead singer guy, I can't remember his name, but the lead singer guy come in and do the vocals. And he actually, sad story, committed suicide a few years ago. But I remember reading this. He had to go out and hire a bunch of session guys to go on the road because the record company didn't know this was not a band. It was just Tom Schultz.
They were booking dates for the shows, and he's like, I don't have guys.
Yeah, I don't have guys.
Bodies.
Yeah, I don't have any guys. It's just me, right? And Siv Hashian was the drummer. He hired him to do a couple songs. But yeah, I remember reading about that. He went out frantically and hired people. So but I actually, funny story, I was 10 that year, and my cousin had this album. And I remember like looking at these guys and listening to the album and going, wow, this is really cool, being 10 years old.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I look back on it now that I'm 58, and I play that album and it brings me back to when I was 10.
It does. You play it and it'll take you right back. These bands like Kansas, Foreigner, Kansas, Boston, all of these bands have been around and just they hold a place. Basically, it's locked into your heart for each one of these bands, the songs, and the album. It takes you right back.
And I tell my little boy is 12, and he loves classic rock, loves it. Like we got satellite radio in my car just a few months ago, and he's like, we got to get to classic rock station, right? So he grew up on classic rock.
Fleetwood Mac. Oh yes.
Yeah, we were down to Fort Myers a couple years ago, and there was a bunch of these guys were old. I mean, they were in their 60s, 70s, and they were playing classic rock, Skinner, stuff like that. And my son was at the side of the stage, belting out every song, like singing his heart out. He was 10.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
how rare is that?
And one of the band members stops the show and goes, wait a minute. Who is this kid? So they ended up dedicating a song to him. That's one of his greatest memories.
Oh my God.
So, he knew every word.
Proud dad moment right there.
Yeah, he knew every word. I mean, the singer was like, how do you know these songs? How do you know Skinner? How do you know Van Halen? And he's like, we listen to him every night before we go to bed.
And that's got to be a rare thing. I don't know many 10-year-olds even into that genre at all, much less liking it, knowing the lyrics and understanding the song.
Exactly. It gives me a little teary, like thinking about it, actually. So,
well, and that's why that band, they're going to say, stop, let's focus here.
Yeah,
what is the deal? Because you don't see that.
Yeah. And, hopefully he does it with his son. And it's like, hey, Grandpa used to listen to this, right?
That'll be the case. That'll be the case.
Gives me a little teary thinking about it.
So then we have the different styles, like you say, Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet was Southern rock, right? Southern. Yeah. And then you get all the different types. British had the blues. British blues was a separate thing too. And these bands coming out of the UK and the rock bands were blowing things up, Zeppelin, Black Sabbath.
Yep.
And it was huge stuff. And but it's interesting where it all goes, how it starts, where it comes from, and most of these have a blues influence where they first started.
And if you read about Zeppelin and you read about these guys, they stole that from the black blues players in the South in the 40s and 50s. Robert Plant and Jimmy Page will say we stole that.
It was a lot of and big folks that are into music, like yourself, they will say there's not a lot of original music. It's
No, yeah,
copied,
right.
the lyrics, not the lyrics, but the the musical parts of the song are ripped
Right,
off on some of
right,
these things,
right.
and they're copied and done a little different, but they're
Yeah.
copied going way back.
Ed Sheeran, I actually just read this story. Not a fan of Ed Sheeran's music, but he was in court because he was getting sued for copying a song. And he came out in court and he started playing different songs that all had the same chord sequence. And
Okay.
he said, you can't copyright a chord sequence or there'd be no songs. Right.
Yes.
And he played 14. I remember watching this video. He had 12, 13, 14 different songs that all had the same chord sequence. Right. And case was dismissed. You can't copyright a chord sequence. But yeah, there's only so many
Pick
and
and
everything.
choose various things, put them together as a recipe essentially for a song,
Yep.
and it's all stuff that's been, if you listen closely, you've heard it before somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at, if anyone's familiar with this, you want to go down a rabbit hole, look up Stairway to Heaven, and then look up a band fronted by Randy California. And Randy California and his band opened, I think it was Spirit, opened
Okay.
for Led Zeppelin. Randy California has a song that sounds exactly like Stairway to
Okay.
Heaven. 100% Jimmy Page stole that from him. And if you want to go down a rabbit hole, look up Randy California's song and Stairway to Heaven. They absolutely stole from him. It's almost the same song.
Yeah, if you look up some of these things on some of these threads or the comment section or Reddit, they'll break down these chords sequences,
Yeah. Yeah.
these guitar solos and whatnot, and say this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
ripped off from here. It sounds exactly like so and so.
Yep. Yep.
But classic rock still one of the best genres out there because there's nothing else like it. It's just
Right.
amazing.
And you and I talked a little bit before the show. Gene Simmons, I think, was the first to say this. Rock is dead. It's dead. It's never coming back. It's dead. What out there right now is rock. You have, Greta Van Fleet, which is, a little bit of a Zeppelin ripoff. I mean, the Killers had a couple good years. Rock is dead.
There's nothing out there that's fresh and new and
Right.
new upcoming bands that you want to run out and get their CD or album. 100% of what I listen to is older stuff anyway. It's
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
nothing that interests me out there. So yes, rock is dead. There's nothing.
It's done.
It's all been done. It's a historical piece of time.
Yeah, it's almost like you're reading a history book when you listen to these albums, right? My grandkids 30 years from now will look back at it and then go, huh, that was interesting, right? It's
I
just,
like some of the I was thinking too of the different additional names. Not only there was George Thorogood, and the Delaware Destroyers, Ted Nugent, and the Amboy Dukes. I mean, these bands go way back, and a lot of them, if you look them up on Wikipedia or whatnot, you find out that they've been around 8-10 years before you even knew they were even in a band. They were
and you bring up Ted Nugent. From Detroit, stole from Mitch Ryder.
Okay.
Right. He'll even say that I stole all my stuff from Mitch Ryder. Bob Seger will say that too. So you can go back even to the 60s to guys like Mitch Ryder and stuff like that. And I think Mitch Ryder was something in the Detroit something. But yeah, a lot of that stuff, when you look up John Mellencamp, when he sings that one song, and he talks about all his influences in the song. I couldn't quote the lyrics right now. But like he talks about all his influence of, Mitch Ryder and things like that. Again, which really kind of created from Motown.
Yep.
Right? Motown came from the blues. So it went from the African-American blues to Motown to guys like Mitch Ryder to guys like Bob Seger. Right? There's just a direct line that rock and roll starts.
I would like to see, and maybe it's out there, a family tree listing of all these guys, what they all come back to, because the common thing is the blues. The common thing is the blues. But there's various different types of the blues, the Chicago, the Motown, New Orleans. I mean, the South.
Yeah.
Some fantastic
Yeah. And you look at, you talk about George Thorogood. I never even realized this. I'm a big George Thorogood fan. 99% of his songs are remakes.
Okay.
Old blues songs. Bad to the Bone.
Yes.
That's an old blues
Yes.
song.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
I Drink Alone. That's an old blues song. Right. And he took little different things of it. But yeah, every song he sings is a remake.
We did a album review on one of Thorogood's, and I went through, and you can see the actual video. Watch the old videos of someone playing before he took it over, the old school music of where that song came from, where those
Yep.
lyrics came
Yep.
from.
Yep.
And he's twisted it up a little bit,
Yeah.
made it a little
Add a little
different,
bit.
but it's old school
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
go way,
Yeah.
way back.
Yep. And he's good friends with a guy named John Hammond. John Hammond is the premier white guy blues player
Okay.
in the 70s. And he'll have John Hammond up on stage with him a lot if you look at George Thorogood live. But yeah, it really, it goes back. It's just this direct line of everybody taking it to the next level. Right. And adding their kind of different things. But it's like I said, it's sad in a way, because to me, classic rock died in 89, and it kept evolving and evolving. And guess what it evolved to? It evolved to Nirvana, and then Pearl Jam, right? And all these different things. And
grunge,
they
Pacific Northwest scene came in, and the grunge, and
killed it.
there was nothing left.
Yep.
These bands were left flat, and
I've seen the videos
bankrupt.
Yeah, of these guys, like the classic rock, the Poisons, and all these different things. It was all about having a good time and meeting chicks, and drinking, get drunk. But it ran into this wall of grunge, whereas grunge was life sucks and nothing matters.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Life sucks and nothing matters. Your parents suck, authority sucks, all that stuff. Classic rock was about having a good time, right? Having a good time, and like Poison says, and Nirvana was, no, what's the point of having a good time? Right? There's no point.
It's emotional switch of negativity and whatnot, and real life situations. And people used classic rock in the past to get out of the real life. They wanted something to look forward to as a positive uplifter. Those are songs that folks listen to when they work out, when they exercise, when they run. It's the positive classic rock heroes that you looked up to. That was it.
That you bring up a good point. I didn't even think of that. What you said was, it's a lot of positivity. And I was in my mid 20s when Nirvana and grunge and stuff came out, and I was like, wow, this is really depressing.
Yes.
Right? Like, I got enough battles with depression in my life. You don't need to make it worse, right?
So that whole genre took that, and then it took off because that whole generation of kids went through, their parents basically 80% were divorced, and there was trouble. So then they were able to relate, and then the grunge all took off because they were able to relate to that scene, whereas we liked the positive, uplifting egos. I mean, the David Roth ego, the Gene Simmons ego was what you look forward to. That I can do no wrong, and I'm the best. And it was just idols you had to look up to. And How Fast My Car, Sammy Hagar's song, Cars, wild stuff. But that is classic rock in a nutshell. It's the good, positive stuff. Jason, thanks for coming on the show and telling about your background and your love, obviously your love for classic rock with your son and family.
Thank you.
It's good stuff. It's still my favorite. It's I couldn't wait to do this show with you to have fun for this.
Same here. Thank you. And I got you can see my Leonard Skinner shirt on.
Skinner.
Brand new shirt.
See? The old concert t-shirts are coming back. You can buy them online. Some people still have them from way back when, but it's some good stuff. All right, Jason, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.